Okay, so welcome to another video. Today we're driving a Land Rover Series III 109 FFR fitted for radio, and this is an ex-military one, as you can see, and I'll give you a tour of the back in a bit, but for now let's get on the road and I'll show you how a Series 3 drives, and then we'll talk about some quirks about a 109 FFR. So, indicators on, away we go. Now, she is a 2.25 petrol engine. And this is an A-Reg, so it's around 1983, 84. And straight away, it drives absolutely lovely. And the view today as well, this glorious Sunday morning, certainly makes it a treat to drive. Now, our speedo is in kilometers an hour. I haven't done 0 to 60 miles an hour that quickly, but she picks up quite nice. This engine was designed for low end torque and just sit around 50-55. Albeit, if you know anything about old Land Rovers, you'll know that this steering play is about 10 times worse at those sorts of speeds. In fourth, it's a 4-speed, and we'll shift down to third. This has just had a new clutch fitted, new exhaust, new brakes, and it is lovely to drive. It really is. Plenty of character, and back up to fourth. That's it. Now, these were predominantly used by the British Army. Obviously, the British Army and British Armed Forces have a very, very long-standing history with the Land Rover, spanning around 70 years, and are looking to discontinue that in the next 4 years or so, and the search for the replacement has begun. But these FFRs specifically were used mainly for the British Army of the Rhine. So, after World War II, when Germany was split up, the British obviously had a side, well, the West had a side, the East had a side, and yeah, we had an army base there for a large number of years throughout the Cold War, and these FFRs were used as part of that. Now, the point of these is not to be used on the front line. They're not a combat vehicle, but they're to be used for radio. So you would have a series of these further back from the battlefield. Not that there was one, obviously, with the Cold War, but you'd have these dotted around, and they would provide your communications and be used for relaying information as well between different locations, bases and vehicles. So very, very cool bit of kit. And this would have used the Klansman radio kit. British Army later moved on to the Bowman system, and they're currently seeking a replacement for that, or an upgrade for that as well. So as you can see, these points here on the bonnet, your aerial antenna will go on, and there's several others dotted about the vehicle as well. And this is the same layout that the British Army has kept ever since. On their Land Rovers, you'll see these radio boxes on the front wings, and that spans to Gimmicks, Snatch Land Rovers, Wolf Land Rovers, all British Land Rovers, British Army Land Rovers with some radio capacities have had radio boxes fitted there. Shut down to second. Now, being a Series 3, pre-Defender, so if you don't know, Land Rover obviously went Series 1, 2, 2A, 3, and then we got to pre-Defender, so the Defender shape, but it was just called the 110 or called the 90. And I think it wasn't until 91 when they were then called Defender. So the dash, the engine lineup, the chassis, everything changed a huge amount since the early days of Land Rover, since the old Series 1. And with this Series 3, everything is very, very analogue, as are most Defenders up until a certain point, 200 and 300 TDI. It's only when you get to a TD5, I believe, that you switch to having an ECU. But these are just great to drive. And like I say, everything is analog. Our light switches, our fan, our wipers, you actually push and twist. But our headlights, being a military vehicle, we have the military switch. So as you can see here, this is basically your side lights, this is your full headlights, these are your convoy lights, and I'm assuming S convoys, special convoy, possibly. I should actually check. We do have 4 military Land Rovers in the collection, so I should probably know. But you would turn that for your headlights rather than having them here on the dash, and that's a military feature that you'll see. And we'll do more about that in another video on another one of the British Army Land Rovers that we've got. Now it is quite a warm morning, so I have got the vents open. Well, this one is open, which is a feature sadly missed on once you get up to the Puma Defender. They just blocked in that bit of the bulkhead and fitted aircon as an option instead, which is great, but on the models which didn't have aircon, they still blocked up the flaps. So, and if you know anything about Series or Defenders, you know the transmission tunnel down here gets extremely warm, and your leg gets very warm no matter what. But the bonus of this series, very, very easy to fold the windscreen down flat, and we've also got sliding windows as well, which are a feature up until modern day British Army Land Rovers actually, so that you can remove the door tops. And I guess it saves weight and cost as well, not having windy windows. It's always the case, isn't it? Sunday morning drive and you're stuck behind a cyclist, but when you're in a Series 3, you're not in a rush. There we go. This is just so easy to drive. I've always said that you should learn to drive in either a Land Rover Series or a Porsche 944. 944 is very, very easy to drive, very easy to learn how to manage the power. It's front engined, of course. Mine's being restored at the moment, but very much looking forward to having a drive like this on a Sunday morning in that. So as you can see, as I said earlier, plenty of torque low down. Just not designed for high speeds, but you don't need it. If you're travelling in the British Army convoy, you're following tank transporters, tanks, heavy, heavy HGVs, no one is breaking the sound barrier, so it's perfect, perfect balance. And as I'll show you later as well, it does have the NATO tow hitch on the front and back actually. So that torque is very useful low down for towing trailers, which this most likely would have. And I know that the previous owner was using it for shows and towing their trailer as well. It was actually at a show that we found it for sale, and it's now part of our collection. We did have one about 9 years ago, which was a hell of a lot cheaper when Land Rover values were very, very low, and we've been looking for one ever since. Lovely, lovely day. Seems to be a nice theme lately when filming. However, if you did see the last video reviewing and taking a drive of the Dennis fire engine, I have sadly smashed the camera in the process due to the wind. So today's video will be entirely POV on the GoPro on my head. But hopefully it gives you a nice experience into what it's like if you're looking at buying a Series 3, or if you have one, or if you used to have one, hopefully you're enjoying the video. Just fantastic to drive, so much fun. Very, very, very different to what's on the roads today, by a long shot. And that petrol engine has plenty of power. The alternative at the time, I think, was the 2.5 diesel non-turbo. Naturally aspirated and very, very, very down on power indeed. But this is nice. Now, when I say we and collection, if you're not aware, head on to our website classicgarage.com and you'll see we have around 25, I think, at the moment, vehicles available for hire. So that's film, TV, events, photo shoots, weddings and so on. Some very quirky vehicles and certainly a wide range of vehicles as well. It's not all classics like this. We go through to rally cars, emergency vehicles, supercars, bits and bobs in between. However, when I say we, what I mean is myself and my dad, because this is joint owned by us, and my dad in fact drove these in the British Army at the time in the 80s, so there's a lovely bit of nostalgia there as well. He did mainly drive tanks, but we don't have 60 grand to buy one, so this will do for now. This particular Land Rover, because all British Army Land Rovers have got their British Army registration, so ours, you can see here, is actually on the steering wheel, 90 KB91. And what we can do is we can look on the Merlin archive or the RLC archive and see its history, as you can with most military vehicles. You can see which regiment it was with, how long for, any major operations it took part in. So we've got another one, for example, that we know went to Bosnia. We've got another one that we know was used in Iraq. But this one was with the Royal Logistic Corps, and it was used in the driver training school. So many, many people would have gained their driving license in one of these in the army. You could join at, I think it's 16, and yeah, I think you join at 16. And you can actually get your driving license all the way up to HGV and so on through the British Army, which is what my dad did with his HGV license, getting it through the army and then later driving tanks. So we're very much looking forward to taking this to shows this year, possibly with our other British Army Land Rovers, and showing off some of the FFR kit in the back as well. I'll actually do a separate deep dive video on that, because get someone that knows a bit more to explain how all of that works. But for now, that has been our drive, this Sunday morning drive in a Land Rover Series 3 into third, Series 3 109 FFR, fitted for radio. I hope you enjoyed it.